You slam your shoulder into a heavy door that refuses to give, and the impact shoots pain down your arm like electricity. The metal bar across the inside doesn't even rattle. The panic alarm you hit a minute ago is still dead. No siren, no lights, no reassuring chirp from a panel. Just a dull click that never turns into help. Your flashlight beam skates over the seam where the door meets the frame, over the glossy red exit sign that now feels like a joke, and then down to the floor where dust has been dragged into long, messy streaks by your boots. The air is wrong. Too still. Too cold in one breath, too warm in the next, like the building can't decide what it is. You taste metal at the back of your throat from breathing hard. You listen for anything human, another guard, a janitor, a security dispatcher answering back, but all you get is the library's silence, thick as insulation, pressing against your ears until you can hear your own pulse thumping in your neck. You step back, and the dark around you feels like it leans in. The door is not a door anymore, it's a wall. And the worst part isn't that you can't get out. The worst part is the sense, gut deep and unexplainable, that whatever locked this place down knows you're here, and it's not in a hurry. You swallow, force your breathing to slow, and you make yourself stand still long enough to think. Your radio is a brick. Your phone shows no service, no calls going out, no bars, no nothing. Just a dim screen and your own reflection, sweaty and pale. You try the emergency release again, not because you believe, but because your hands need a job or they'll start shaking. Nothing. You push your ear to the door, and you hear only the faint hum of the building systems, like a distant engine idling. Somewhere deeper inside, something ticks. Maybe a thermostat relay, maybe a camera mount, maybe a sound your brain is inventing to fill the void. You back away, and your flashlight beam catches a smear on the wall. Dark, greasy, fresh. You don't remember touching it. You don't remember anything brushing you, but it's there, and it pulls your attention like gravity. Your stomach tightens. You wipe your hand on your pants without meaning to, as if that smear might jump onto you just by being seen. You realize, standing there in the half-lit hallway that smells like old paper and cleaning chemicals, that you are not doing a normal shift anymore. This is the moment when routine breaks and survival takes over. The moment when you stop being the night watchman and start being a person trapped inside a building that has decided its rules don't apply. Welcome to the simulation. You're here because you want the slow, gritty version, the one where history isn't polished and heroic, where the danger isn't cinematic, where the fear sits in the stomach like bad food and refuses to leave. If you want more immersive survival stories like this, more nights spent locked in places that don't care if you live, subscribe now. It's a small thing. It's the kind of small thing you do early while your hands are steady, while you still think you're in control. If you want to survive history with me, you know what to do. Now breathe. Let the panic slide down a notch. We're going back to the beginning, back to the part where you still thought you were just working a night shift. You arrive just before closing, the way you always do, the way your body has learned without asking permission. The outside air hits you first. Sharp if it's winter, wet if it's summer, always carrying the city's stink. Exhaust, fried food from somewhere still open, damp concrete, the faint sourness of trash. The library sits like a block of older time dropped into the modern street. Big stone facade, heavy doors, tall windows that reflect the late daylight and make you feel watched before you even step inside. You swipe your badge, sign the log, nod at whoever is finishing up the last of the day shift. There's no small talk worth remembering. There never is. Everyone's tired. Everyone wants to go home. Inside, the air changes fast. It's cooler than outdoors, conditioned and dry, but not clean. It's the library smell. Paper dust, aging glue, cloth bindings, and that faint mildew that never fully leaves old buildings, no matter how much money you throw at maintenance. There's also the modern layer. Disinfectant wiped across counters, cheap carpet shampoo, the plasticky scent of laminated signage. Your boots make a soft, dull sound on the flooring, swallowed by distance. Even with people still moving around, the place already feels like it's pulling away from the day, like the building is slowly exhaling the public. You check the main desk, you walk the entrances, you do the same motions you've done 100 times. Your uniform itches at the collar. The radio sits heavy on your shoulder, mostly silent, occasionally spitting out short bursts from building security. You're not a hero here, you're a function. You are the living proof that the place is supervised, that if something goes wrong, someone is present to witness it and fill out the reports. The lights overhead are bright but tired, fluorescents in long strips that buzz faintly if you stand still long enough to hear them. Some corners are lit warmer, the older lamps near reading tables, throwing yellow pools on wood that's been touched by generations of hands. People finish their last minutes like they're moving through water, slow, reluctant, staring at screens, packing bags, shuffling stacks of books like the weight of knowledge is physical. A kid whispers too loud and gets shushed. Someone laughs briefly, then stops, like they remember where they are. The sound doesn't carry far. The library eats noise.
Closing time comes in steps. First the announcements, then the slow flow toward the doors, then the emptying. Chairs left crooked, abandoned pens, a paper cup in a corner that shouldn't be there. You walk each floor with a practiced scan. Bathrooms, study rooms, stairwells, the quiet spaces where people think no one notices them. You check behind pillars, between tall shelves, in the places where someone could fall asleep and get locked in. You do it because you're paid to, but you also do it because you've seen enough weirdness in public buildings to know people are unpredictable. Students do stupid things. Couples hide. Someone with nowhere to go tries to make a bed in a quiet corner. You don't judge. You just want them out before the doors lock, because after that, everything becomes your problem. The last patrons leave. The exterior doors latch with a heavy sound that always makes your shoulders stiffen a little. There's a final clunk, a final shiver through the frame, and then you are inside a building that is no longer public. The library after closing is a different animal. It's the same rooms, the same shelves, the same lights, but the atmosphere changes in ways you can't fully explain. The air feels thicker, like the place is holding its breath. The silence gets teeth. You start your rounds. You always start the same way, because routine makes you feel safe. Main floor, then west wing, then up the stairwell, then the upper stacks, then down into the basement corridors where the archives and maintenance rooms sit behind locked doors. You carry keys that don't open everything. You carry a flashlight even though the lights are on, because you've learned the lights can fail. Your hands know the shape of your tools without looking. Your mind stays half distracted, thinking about bills, about food, about how much time is left until morning, because nothing usually happens. Nothing ever happens until it does. The first hour is always the easiest. The building is still settling, heat and cold shifting through ducts, pipes ticking, ventilation humming. Every now and then, the sound of a book's spine popping as it adjusts in the changing temperature, a tiny crack that can make you flinch if you're tired. You note the details because that's your job, but you also note them because your brain hates empty space. In the quiet, your thoughts get loud. You pass the periodical section, where old newspapers sit in drawers like sleeping animals. You pass the children's room, now darkened, stuffed animals on display shelves staring into empty space. You pass the public computers, their screens black, reflecting your moving silhouette as you walk by. Your footsteps are steady. Your breathing is steady. Your flashlight is off for now, clipped to your belt, because you don't need it yet. The library smells different at night. The daytime smells, perfume, coffee, people, fade, and what's left is the building itself. Paper and dust, a faint tang of ozone from electronics, the sharp, clean bite of cleaner near the bathrooms. In some areas, the smell of old wood and varnish. In others, that basement dampness that always creeps up through concrete. You notice it all without trying. Your senses are tuned, not because you're brave, but because a quiet building makes you hyper-aware. Every sound becomes a potential problem.
You do a quick check at the security office. Cameras show empty corridors. The timestamp ticks forward, indifferent. You sip water from your bottle and taste the stale plastic. You glance at the logbook and see your own handwriting from the previous night. Same notes, same nothing. You tell yourself it'll be the same tonight. You tell yourself that because it's easier than admitting you're always waiting for the one shift when the normal pattern breaks. You head toward the east wing next, the older section of the library, where the ceilings are higher and the shelves feel taller. This wing always makes you feel small. It's quieter than the rest, not just because it's empty, but because the architecture swallows sound. The lamps here are older, softer, and the shadows between shelves are deep enough to feel like holes. The air is cooler, even when the rest of the building is warm. You've mentioned it to maintenance before. They shrugged. Old ductwork, they said. Uneven circulation. Normal. You walk past the special collections door. It's locked, as always, and a sign warns about restricted access. You've never been inside, not officially. You've heard stories from staff about rare manuscripts, delicate maps, brittle pages that crumble if you breathe wrong. You don't care about any of that. What you care about is the security panel next to the door, the little green light that says the system is armed, the tiny comfort that something here still functions like it's supposed to. You continue on. You check the stairwell at the end of the wing. You tug the handle, make sure it's secure. You glance up the stairs and see only darkness and the faint glow of exit signs. You smell something faint, burnt dust, like a heater kicking on after months. It's subtle, easy to dismiss. You tell yourself it's nothing. You keep walking. That's how it starts. Not with a scream, not with a bang. With small things your brain tries to explain away because accepting them would mean your night is about to become something else. You reach the far reading room, the one with long tables and green shaded lamps, the one that looks like it belongs in a different century. The lamps are off now. The room is lit only by the overhead emergency lighting, dimmer than the main floors. Shadows lie across the tables like spilled ink. You walk slowly, scanning. Chairs are tucked in, no movement, no people, nothing. Then you see it. A single lamp is on. Just one, green shade glowing faintly, casting a circle of light on the table beneath it. The bulb hums softly. The light shouldn't be on. The system shuts them down automatically after closing. You stop without meaning to, because something about that lone pool of light feels wrong, like a lit cigarette in a dark room. Your first thought is practical. Someone forgot. A staff member working late. A timer glitch. Your second thought is less logical, and you hate it because it arrives uninvited. Someone is here. You approach, slow, listening. The circle of light shows a book lying open on the table. The pages are flat, held down like someone was reading and stepped away for a second. There's no bag, no coffee cup, no pen. The book is old, its edges yellowed. You don't recognize the title from where you stand. You don't touch it, you just look, because touching things in a library feels like breaking a rule. You scan the room again. Nothing. You walk behind the tables, between the chairs, checking the corners. Your boots sound too loud on the floor. Your radio stays silent. The lamp continues to hum as if it's the only living thing in the room. You reach up and switch it off. The room darkens instantly, and the silence feels heavier, like you've closed a lid. You tell yourself that was just the lamp. You tell yourself the building is old. You tell yourself it means nothing. But when you turn to leave, you feel it, the faintest shift in the air, like someone exhaled behind you. You stop. You listen. You hear nothing. You keep moving anyway, because standing still in a dark room is how you let fear grow legs. Back in the corridor, the smell of burnt dust returns, stronger now. You look up at the ceiling vents, but nothing is visibly wrong. The lights overhead flicker once, so quick it could be your eyes. You keep walking, but your shoulders are tight now, your body already preparing for something your mind hasn't admitted yet. You head toward the central control panel to check the system logs, just to reassure yourself. The panel is mounted near a staff-only door, a screen with status lights and a keypad. You've checked it 1,000 times. Tonight, one of the indicators is blinking amber instead of steady green. You lean in. You read the tiny text on the display. You frown. The system shows an internal door fault in the east wing, a door you didn't touch, a door that shouldn't be moving at all. You press the button to pull up more info. The screen lags. It's slow, like it's thinking. Then it displays a second fault, then a third. Your skin prickles. You glance down the corridor toward the east wing, and the quiet feels like a threat now. Not because you've seen anything, because the building is starting to behave like it has choices. You radio dispatch, standard check-in, standard report. Your voice comes out controlled because you've trained it to. The radio spits back only static. You try again, more static. You adjust the channel, static. You tap the unit, nothing. The silence after the static is worse than the static itself. You pull out your phone, no bars. You stand there staring at the dead screen and the amber blinking light, and you feel the first real drop in your gut. Not panic yet, something colder. The realization that if something goes wrong, you might be on your own. You tell yourself it's just a dead zone. The library has thick walls. The building's signal repeaters might be down. Maintenance will fix it. You'll file a note. It'll be annoying, but not deadly. Then the lights in the corridor flicker again, longer this time. Half a second, a full second, enough that the shadows jump, enough that your brain registers it as a warning. The building hum changes pitch. It deepens, like a generator shifting load. Somewhere, far off, a door clicks shut. Not the heavy slam of an exterior door, an interior latch, quiet and final. You turn your head toward the sound. Your mouth goes dry. You're still at the beginning. The disaster hasn't fully shown its face yet, but the air has changed. The library is no longer just a place you work. It's a place that can close around you. And as you start moving faster, heading back toward the East Wing to confirm what the system is reporting, you can't shake the feeling that you're walking into a trap that has been waiting all day for the moment the doors finally closed. You move deeper into the building knowing you shouldn't rush, even though every instinct tells you to. Fast movement makes mistakes. Mistakes get you hurt. You force your pace into something controlled, measured, the way you were trained, even as the unease crawls higher up your spine. The corridor lights ahead of you are steady for now, but the hum overhead still sounds wrong, lower, strained, like the building is breathing through clenched teeth. The air feels heavier with each step, carrying that old paper smell mixed with something sharper, almost electrical. Dust floats through your flashlight beam when you finally unclip it, the particles slow and lazy, like they've been waiting undisturbed for years. You pass another junction, another bank of shelves disappearing into shadow. At night, the stacks don't feel like rows anymore. They feel like walls, tall, narrow, endless. Your flashlight slides across spines stamped with gold titles, most of them unreadable at a glance. History presses in on both sides. Wars, disasters, forgotten names, thousands of lives flattened into ink and paper. You feel small here, not in a poetic way, but in a practical one. If something happened to you between these shelves, it could take days to find you, maybe longer. The thought settles into your chest and stays there. The temperature shifts as you cross an invisible line into the older part of the East Wing. Your breath fogs just a little. The HVAC never worked right here, and at night the cold sinks down from the high ceilings and clings to the floor. Your boots squeak faintly, the sound too loud, too sharp. You wince and slow down even more, listening after every step. Pipes click somewhere above you. A distant thud echoes through the structure, metal contracting or expanding or something else entirely. You don't know, and that's the problem. When you can't label a sound, your brain fills in the worst options automatically. You reach the first interior door, flagged by the system. It's a heavy fire door meant to compartmentalize the wing if something goes wrong. It should be unlocked during normal operations. Tonight, the handle doesn't move. You try again, harder. The latch stays firm. You kneel, shining your light at the frame. The locking mechanism is engaged, clean and intentional. No signs of damage, no pry marks. It didn't slam shut. It was told to close. You straighten slowly, aware of how exposed you feel standing alone in that corridor. Your radio is still dead weight on your shoulder. You press the talk button anyway, whispering status codes that go nowhere. The static that answers you is thin and weak, like the building is mocking the effort. You let go and stand there listening to the silence that rushes back in. Beyond the locked door, the East Wing continues. Reading rooms, offices, another stairwell that leads up to the rare book stacks. You know the layout by heart, but now it feels theoretical, like a map to a place you can't reach. You check the panel again on your phone through the security app, hoping it's updated. The screen takes a second too long to load. When it does, more alerts are stacked beneath the first. Internal door lockdown, zone segmentation active, automated response engaged. Engaged to what? You scroll. There's no explanation, no trigger listed, no fire alarm, no security breach. Just a system doing something it's not supposed to do without telling you why. You swallow and wipe your palm on your pants. The fabric is damp. You hadn't noticed yourself sweating, but your body noticed before you did. You step back from the door, shining your flashlight down the corridor you came from, checking for movement. The light catches nothing but stillness. Shelves, signage, the glossy floor reflecting your own shape back at you. You don't like seeing yourself like that, stretched and distorted by distance. It makes you look like someone else. You decide to reroute. There are other ways around, longer paths through staff corridors and service tunnels. You turn and head back, your footsteps echoing just enough to keep you tense. Every intersection looks the same now. Beige walls, institutional carpet, emergency exit signs glowing red, always pointing somewhere you can't reach without authorization. You keep glancing over your shoulder, not because you heard something, but because the absence of sound feels aggressive. As you move, you start to notice the smell more clearly. It's not just old books anymore. There's a dryness to it, like overheated electronics, a faint bitterness, like burned dust or insulation. It tickles the back of your throat. You clear it quietly, the sound loud in your own head. You think about fire. Divregard does. Fire is the nightmare scenario in a building like this. Paper stacked floor to ceiling, history ready to go up in minutes. But there's no smoke, no alarms, no heat. Just that smell, hovering. You reach a staff-only door and swipe your badge. The light turns green. The door opens with a soft click, and you step into a narrower corridor with exposed pipes and concrete walls. The temperature drops another degree. The floor here is bare and hard, your boots sounding different, sharper, more honest. This is the part of the building the public never sees, the veins and bones behind the polished skin. You like these corridors normally. They make sense. They feel utilitarian. Tonight, they feel like a maze. Your flashlight beam glides over maintenance signs, electrical boxes, old chalk markings no one ever cleaned off. The hum of the building is louder here, closer, vibrating through the walls. You follow the corridor toward a service stairwell that should bring you back into the east wing beyond the locked door. You've used it before during drills. It's not fast, but it works. Halfway there, the lights flicker again. This time, they don't come back right away. Darkness drops like a curtain. Your flashlight is suddenly the only thing cutting through it, the beam narrow and unforgiving. The silence changes instantly. Without the hum of the lights, every sound sharpens. You're breathing, the faint buzz of electricity still alive somewhere above. The soft scrape of your boot as you shift your weight. The lights snap back on after a few seconds, but the damage is done. Your heart is racing now, thudding against your ribs. You stand still until it slows, counting breaths, forcing your body to listen to your brain. You tell yourself it's a power fluctuation. Old building, heavy load, normal. You've seen worse. You haven't seen this, though. As you continue, you notice something off about the corridor ahead. The air looks thicker. Not fog, not smoke, just a subtle distortion in the light, like heat shimmer without the heat. You stop and stare at it, your flashlight beam cutting through the space. The distortion doesn't move. It just sits there, subtle enough that you could convince yourself it's nothing. Your eyes feel tired, that's all. Night shift does that. You step forward and the smell intensifies. Burnt dust, old paper, something organic, faint but real. Your stomach tightens. You slow again, scanning the walls, the ceiling, the floor. No flames, no sparks, no obvious source. The distortion fades as you approach, resolving into nothing. Just air, just corridor. You let out a breath you didn't realize you were holding and keep going, annoyed at yourself for spooking so easily. That's when you hear it. Footsteps. Not echoes of your own, not the delayed slap you're used to hearing in big spaces. These are soft, uneven, somewhere ahead of you. Someone else is walking in the building. You freeze. Every muscle locks. You kill your flashlight and stand in the dim overhead light, listening. The footsteps stop. The silence stretches, thin and fragile. You wait, counting heartbeats. 1, 2, 3. You hear your own blood rushing in your ears. You convince yourself it was pipes, or expansion, or your imagination catching up to your nerves. Then the footsteps start again, closer this time. They're slow, careful. Whoever it is isn't running. They aren't lost. They're moving with purpose. The sound drifts down the corridor, muted by distance and walls. You flip your flashlight back on and sweep the beam ahead, your voice stuck in your throat. You want to call out, standard procedure, announce yourself, but something stops you. A gut feeling, heavy and cold, telling you to gather more information before making noise.
You edge forward, keeping close to the wall. The beam shows empty corridor, empty doorways, nothing that explains the sound. The footsteps fade, then reappear, as if moving through spaces your light can't reach. You turn a corner, heart pounding, and the corridor ahead is empty. No one, no movement, no shadows slipping away. You stand there, breathing hard, trying to make sense of it. If someone else is trapped in the building, you should find them. That's part of your job. But the idea of not being alone doesn't comfort you the way it should. It makes everything worse. Because if there's someone else here and the system has locked down this wing, then you're not dealing with a glitch anymore. You're dealing with a situation. You reach the service stairwell and push the door open. The stairwell is tall and narrow, concrete steps spiraling up and down, lit by harsh white lights. The smell here is different, damp, metallic. You grip the railing and start up, your boots scraping loudly now, no way to soften the sound. Every step echoes. You feel exposed, like something could be watching you from above or below. Halfway up, you stop. The sound of footsteps returns, unmistakable now, echoing in the stairwell with you. They're above you. Someone is coming down. You tilt your flashlight upward, the beam catching dust motes in the underside of steps, but no person. The footsteps continue, slow and deliberate. Your pulse spikes. You open your mouth to call out, training kicking in despite the fear. Before you can make a sound, the footsteps stop. The silence in the stairwell is absolute. No hum, no echo, just you, frozen on the steps, heart hammering, realizing how loud you must sound just standing there alive. You wait. Nothing happens. After a long moment, you continue up, each step deliberate, your flashlight steady despite the shake in your hands. When you reach the landing and push through into the upper east wing, the door opens easily, too easily. The room beyond is dark, lit only by emergency lights. Rows of shelves loom, taller and closer together than the lower floors. The air is colder here, biting now, and the smell of old paper is overwhelming, thick enough to taste. Somewhere in this section, something has gone wrong badly enough to lock the building down around you. You step fully into the space, the door closing behind you with a soft final click, and for the first time since your shift began, a clear thought cuts through the noise in your head. You are no longer sure the library is just malfunctioning. You're starting to feel like it's reacting. You step forward into the upper east wing, and the door seals behind you with a sound that lands heavy in your chest. Not a slam, not an alarm, just a clean, mechanical click that tells you the decision has already been made. The space around you feels immediately different from the rest of the building, colder, quieter, pressed down by the weight of what's stored here. The shelves rise higher than anywhere else, packed tight with volumes most people never touch. Rare books, old records,
things kept not for use, but for preservation. Your flashlight beam struggles to reach the tops, dissolving into darkness long before it gets there. The emergency lights cast a dull gray wash that flattens everything, stealing depth and making distance hard to judge. You pause and listen. The stairwell behind you is silent now. No footsteps, no hum, just the faint ringing in your ears from adrenaline and the low, constant awareness of your own breathing. You realize how loud you are in this space. Fabric shifting, boots on the floor, the quiet click of your flashlight as you adjust your grip. You slow down even more, placing each step carefully, like the floor might give you away. The smell up here is stronger than anywhere else. Old paper, leather bindings, dust that's been trapped for decades. It's dry and heavy, coating the inside of your nose. You taste it when you swallow. The air feels stale, like it hasn't been properly cycled in a long time. You check the vents overhead with your light. They're dark, no airflow, no movement, just metal grates staring back at you. You start walking the nearest aisle, scanning shelf labels as you go, more out of habit than interest. Dates blur together, centuries collapse into neat rows. You feel surrounded by the dead. Not bodies, but voices, ideas, lives pressed into paper and forgotten. Normally, that thought barely registers. Tonight, it crawls under your skin. You can't shake the sense that you're being watched by things that don't have eyes anymore. Your phone vibrates suddenly in your pocket, sharp and violent in the quiet. You flinch hard enough to stumble, your heart leaping into your throat. You yank it out, hands shaking, hope flaring bright and desperate. No signal, no incoming call, just a system notification from the security app, delayed and useless. Automated lockdown, Zone E3. Status, active. Manual override, unavailable. You stare at the screen longer than you should, waiting for more information that never comes. No explanation, no countdown, no option to cancel. The words feel final, like a verdict. You swipe back and try to access the control interface directly. The app freezes, then crashes. Your phone returns to its home screen, smooth and indifferent, as if nothing is wrong.
You shove it back into your pocket and rub your face with both hands, pressing your palms into your eyes until you see spots. This is the point where training is supposed to take over. Assess, contain, report. But reporting is impossible, and containment doesn't mean much when you're the one contained. You're supposed to wait for instructions. You're not supposed to freelance solutions. But standing still in this place feels dangerous in a way you can't articulate. You move deeper into the stacks, following the aisle until it opens into a wider space, a reference alcove with a long table bolted to the floor and a few rolling ladders parked along the shelves. The ladders loom like skeletons in the half-light. One of them isn't where it should be. It's angled slightly, its wheels turned as if it was pushed and left there. You stop and stare at it, your brain automatically rewinding your earlier rounds. You didn't come through here before, you're sure of it. This section was supposed to be empty. You circle the ladder slowly, shining your light at the floor. Dust covers everything in a thin, even layer, but near the ladder's wheels it's disturbed. Lines cut through it, fresh. Your stomach tightens again. Someone moved this recently. Not days ago, not weeks, tonight. You straighten and scan the alcove, your flashlight beam sweeping across shelves, the table, the far corners. Nothing moves. Nothing responds. The silence presses back harder, like it resents being challenged. You tell yourself there has to be a rational explanation. Maintenance, archivists working late with special permission, a systems test gone wrong. You stack these explanations in your head like sandbags, trying to hold back the flood of worse possibilities. Another sound cuts through your thoughts. A soft thump, distant but real, followed by a faint sliding noise. It comes from somewhere below you, deeper in the wing. Your shoulders tense. You angle your flashlight toward the sound, but the shelves block your view. You consider calling out again, announcing yourself,
but the memory of those footsteps in the service corridor stops you. Whatever is making these noises hasn't announced itself. It hasn't asked for help. It's just moving. You start toward the sound, slow and careful, staying close to the end of the shelves so you can pivot quickly if you need to. Your body feels heavy now, movements deliberate, like you're wading through thick water. Every few steps you stop and listen. The noise doesn't repeat right away. When it does, it's farther off, as if it's drifting rather than walking. As you move, the temperature drops another notch. Your breath fogs faintly in front of you now, visible in the beam of your flashlight. The cold sinks into your hands first, creeping through your gloves, making your fingers stiff. You flex them as you walk, annoyed by how quickly your body is reacting. Fear does that. It turns minor discomfort into something urgent. You reach another interior door, this one marked for staff access only. It should lead into a narrow office space used by archivists. You test the handle. Locked. You try your badge. The reader flashes red. You press your ear to the door. On the other side, you hear something faint, a low, rhythmic sound. Not mechanical, not quite breathing either, just a soft, repeating noise, like fabric shifting or fingers brushing paper. You pull back quickly, heart racing, and shine your light around the corridor again. Nothing. The realization settles in slowly, like cold water rising around your ankles. The lockdown isn't random, it's selective. The building isn't sealing everything, it's sealing sections, guiding movement, hurting. You shake your head, annoyed at yourself for thinking like that, but the thought sticks anyway. You check your watch. Time is moving normally, seconds ticking by, no jump cuts, no missing minutes. That should be reassuring. It isn't. If something is wrong, you're going to experience every second of it. You decide to head back toward the main rotunda, reassess, find another route down. As you turn, the lights flicker again, longer this time. The emergency lights dim, then surge, casting wild shadows that stretch and twist across the shelves. Your flashlight beam wobbles as your grip tightens. For a moment, the shadows look wrong. Too tall, too narrow, like figures standing between the shelves. Your breath catches. You blink hard, and the shapes collapse back into normal angles. Shelves, books, nothing else. You force yourself to move. Standing still is how your mind turns against you. The aisle seems longer on the way back. The shelves press closer together, or maybe that's just your perception shifting. You brush against a spine accidentally, and the book tips out slightly before settling back into place. The sound is small, but it makes you flinch anyway. You mutter under your breath without realizing it, the words lost to the air. Your voice sounds strange to you too loud and too close, like it doesn't belong in the space. Halfway back, your flashlight flickers, once, twice, then steadies. You glance down at it, thumb hovering near the switch. Fresh batteries. You check them at the start of your shift. You always do. Your chest tightens as you imagine being plunged into full darkness up here, surrounded by shelves you can't see the tops of. You clip the light closer to your chest, angling it so even if it dies, you'll still have a few seconds to orient yourself. You reach the end of the aisle and step into the wider corridor that leads back toward the stairwell. Relief starts to creep in despite yourself. Open space, lines of sight, something that feels closer to normal. Then you see the stairwell door. It's closed. It wasn't before. You stop short, staring at it. The handle sits there, dull metal under emergency light. No warning sign, no flashing indicator, just a door doing what doors do. You walk up to it slowly and try the handle. It doesn't move. You step back, frustration bubbling up into something sharper. You try again, harder. Still nothing. You swipe your badge. Red light. You shine your flashlight at the frame, at the hinges, at the locking mechanism. Engaged. Fully. Just like the fire door below. Your breathing speeds up despite your efforts to control it. You're boxed in now. Upper East Wing. Segmented. No clear path back the way you came. You pull your phone out again, jabbing at the screen. The app won't load. Your signal is still dead. You switch to airplane mode, back again, anything to make it change. Nothing. A sound echoes from somewhere behind you. Not close, not far. The unmistakable scrape of something being dragged across the floor. You turn slowly, flashlight sweeping the corridor behind you. The beam catches the rolling ladder again, now closer than it was before. It's not where you left it. One of its wheels turns slightly, still spinning, as if it's just been moved. Your heart slams against your ribs. You don't approach it this time. You back away instead, keeping the ladder in your line of sight. The silence around it feels charged, like static before a storm. You can feel your pulse in your hands, in your neck. Your mouth is dry enough that swallowing hurts. You think about the other watchmen on shift tonight. There should have been another body in the building, someone covering a different section. You try to remember where they said they'd be stationed. Your memory feels slippery, unreliable. Did they even check in? Did you see them at the start of the shift? Or are you filling in gaps because that's what's supposed to happen? The idea that you might truly be alone settles into you like a weight. The dragging sound starts again, closer now, slow, deliberate. You angle your flashlight toward it, the beam cutting through the corridor, over the ladder, into the shadows beyond. You see nothing moving, no legs, no hands, just the sound, persistent and patient. Your survival instincts finally override protocol. You turn and move quickly, heading deeper into the wing, away from the sound, away from the locked stairwell, toward spaces you haven't checked yet. Your boots thud louder now, echoing despite your efforts. You don't care. Being quiet doesn't feel like protection anymore. As you move, you become aware of another sensation, subtle but undeniable. The building feels awake. Not alive, not in any way you can name, but responsive. Lights flicker where you pass, doors lock behind you, sounds follow you, never quite catching up, never fully disappearing. You reach another junction and stop, chest heaving, sweat cooling on your skin despite the cold. You lean against a shelf for support, your flashlight beam shaking as you scan the darkness ahead. This is no longer just an equipment failure, no longer just a glitch. Something has gone wrong inside the library, and it's spreading. And whether it's a system, a person, or something you don't have words for yet, you're starting to understand one thing with brutal clarity. The building isn't just holding you here, it's closing in. You press your back against the shelf and force yourself to stand still, counting breaths until the shaking in your hands eases enough to trust your grip again. The metal frame is cold through your uniform, leaching warmth from your skin. The books behind you are solid, unyielding, their combined weight pressing through the shelf into your spine. It's grounding in a rough way, a reminder that this place is built of real materials, steel, paper, concrete, not just fear and bad thoughts. You cling to that as you listen to the silence stretch out again. Nothing moves, no dragging, no footsteps, no hum beyond the low, distant vibration of the building's systems. The quiet feels deliberate now, like something waiting for you to make the next mistake. You straighten slowly and scan the junction ahead with your flashlight. 3 paths branch out, one leading deeper into the rare stacks, one toward a staff workroom, one toward a narrow passage that should connect to another stairwell farther north. Should. The word tastes bad. Too many things tonight aren't doing what they should. You choose the passage toward the northern stairwell, not because it feels safer, but because it offers the possibility of vertical movement, a way out of this boxed-in lair. You move carefully, slower than before but steadier, your flashlight beam fixed ahead. The floor here changes texture under your boots, transitioning from carpet to sealed concrete. Your steps sound harsher now, echoing off low ceilings and close walls. You don't bother trying to be quiet anymore. The silence has proven it doesn't care. The air in the passage is stale and damp. You smell concrete, old water, rust. Somewhere ahead, a pipe drips at an irregular rhythm, slow enough that you can't predict it, just fast enough to keep your nerves tight. Each drop hits metal with a hollow ping that echoes longer than it should. You pass faded safety signs bolted to the wall, their edges curled and peeling. This corridor hasn't seen regular foot traffic in years. That fact sits heavy with you. If you disappear here, no one will find you by accident. Halfway down the passage, your flashlight beam catches something on the floor. You slow, then stop. A set of footprints crosses the dust-coated concrete, angling toward the staff workroom you passed earlier. They're fresh, clean impressions cutting through grime that's clearly been undisturbed for a long time. They're not your prints. The tread pattern doesn't match your boots. Your stomach tightens as you crouch and study them, your light tracing their path. Someone else has been here, recently, not hours ago, not days, tonight. You stand slowly, keeping your balance, and follow the footprints with your eyes until they disappear under the edge of the workroom door. The door is closed now. It wasn't before. You remember that clearly. Your heart rate picks up again, and you curse under your breath, annoyed at how fast fear is regaining ground. You weigh your options. Investigate the room where someone else might be, or keep moving and hope you're not cutting off your own escape. Another sound breaks the silence, this one unmistakable. A cough, short, dry, human. Relief hits you so hard it almost makes your knees buckle. You're not alone. There's another person in the building, another guard, a staff member, anyone. You step toward the door, your flashlight lowering slightly, your mouth opening to announce yourself. The relief doesn't last. The cough comes again, closer this time, but it's wrong, too controlled, too evenly spaced, like an imitation of a sound rather than the thing itself. Your instincts flare hot and urgent. You stop inches from the door, your hand hovering near the handle, heart hammering loud enough you're sure it can be heard on the other side. You listen. The room beyond is quiet again. No movement, no shuffling, no breathing. Just that thick, pressing silence you're starting to hate more than noise. You pull your hand back and take a step away from the door, every muscle tight. This is the moment when the truth starts to settle in. Whatever is happening here isn't just mechanical. Systems don't leave footprints. They don't move ladders. They don't cough. You turn and continue down the passage, choosing distance over answers. The corridor bends sharply, narrowing even more, and you feel the walls closing in. Your shoulders brush concrete. The flashlight beam bounces off the end wall, revealing a heavy metal door with a stenciled label, "Emergency Stair North." Your pulse jumps. This is it. A way down, a way back toward the main floors, maybe even out. You hurry the last few steps and grab the handle. It doesn't move. You try again, harder this time, bracing your foot against the wall for leverage. The door shudders slightly, but stays shut. You swipe your badge. Red light. You check the hinge side, the lock, the frame, fully engaged. Another controlled closure, another exit denied. Frustration surges, sharp and angry, cutting through fear. You slam your fist into the door once before you can stop yourself. The impact echoes down the corridor, loud and final. You freeze, listening for a response. None comes. The sound seems to vanish into the walls, swallowed without consequence. You lean your forehead against the cold metal and close your eyes for a second, forcing yourself to think. You inventory what you have: flashlight, radio, phone, keys that suddenly feel ornamental, water bottle half full, no food, no real weapon. You think about how long until morning, how long until someone notices something's wrong, if they notice. The system says everything is contained. From the outside, this might look like a normal night. You straighten and turn back the way you came, moving slower now, your energy bleeding off into something heavy and exhausted. The corridor feels longer on the return. The dripping pipe sounds closer, louder, as if it's mocking you. When you reach the junction again, you stop, uncertain. The staff workroom door is still closed. The rare stacks corridor yawns open and dark. The passage back toward the center of the wing feels like the least bad option. As you stand there, trying to decide, you hear it again. Footsteps. Clear this time, unmistakably human in rhythm. They're coming from the direction of the staff workroom, slow and deliberate, heels striking concrete with a steady cadence. You step back instinctively, flashlight snapping up, beam fixed on the corner where the corridor bends. Your heart is in your throat now, adrenaline flooding your system, sharpening everything. The footsteps stop just out of sight. A shadow stretches across the floor first, long and distorted by the angle of the light. Then another. Someone is standing there, just beyond the corner, close enough that you should be able to see them, far enough that you can't. You hold your breath without realizing it. Your muscles ache from tension. Seconds drag by. You wait for a face, a uniform, anything that makes sense. Nothing appears. Instead, the shadow shifts in a way that doesn't match the shape it should belong to. It elongates, thins, then snaps back into something vaguely human before settling again. Your skin crawls. Your brain scrambles for explanations. Bad lighting, exhaustion, stress, but they fall apart as fast as you build them. The footsteps start again, retreating this time, moving away from you down the corridor toward the rare stacks. You don't chase them. You don't call out. Every survival instinct you have screams to let whatever that is go. You stand there shaking, your flashlight beam fixed on empty space, listening until the sound fades completely. When the silence returns, it feels heavier than before, as if it's layered with intention. You realize then that the library isn't just malfunctioning, and it isn't just occupied. Something inside the building is actively shaping your movement, closing doors, opening paths, making sure you see just enough to keep going without understanding. You are being managed. You step away from the junction and move back toward the central part of the wing, your mind racing despite your exhaustion. You need open space. You need sightlines. You need to find the other watchman or confirm there isn't one. Being alone with uncertainty is starting to feel worse than facing whatever's stalking these stacks. As you walk, you pass another emergency panel mounted on the wall. On impulse, you stop and check it. The screen is lit, active. Your breath catches as you read the status. Containment protocol, active. Occupant count, 1. You stare at the number, your vision tunneling, the rest of the screen fading away. 1, not 2, not unknown. 1. You. Your hands go numb. You step back from the panel as if it might bite you. The realization hits hard and fast, knocking the air from your lungs. If the system is right, then the footsteps, the cough, the shadows, none of them are registered as occupants. They aren't considered people. The lights overhead flicker again, dimming the corridor into something closer to twilight. The hum of the building deepens, resonant, almost satisfied. You stand there, alone in the middle of the east wing, surrounded by locked doors and watching shelves, understanding too late that whatever this place is responding to, it isn't a fire and it isn't a glitch. It's you. And now that the library knows exactly how many of you are inside, it doesn't seem inclined to let that number change.
Your stomach growls, loud and traitorous in the quiet, and the sound makes you flinch harder than the shadows did. It's been hours since you last ate, long enough that the hunger isn't sharp anymore, just heavy and dull, a constant pressure that makes it harder to think. You hadn't noticed it growing, the way you don't notice a headache until it's already there. Adrenaline pushed it aside for a while. Now that the fear has settled into something steadier, something colder, your body starts collecting its debts. You move away from the panel without looking back, afraid the number will change if you give it attention. The corridor ahead stretches out, lit unevenly by emergency lights that buzz softly, their sound worming its way into your head. You feel slower now, not weak yet, but off, like your reactions are delayed by half a second. You roll your shoulders, trying to shake it loose, but the fatigue stays with you, thick and sticky. You head toward a larger reading area, one of the old reference rooms that sits near the heart of the wing. You want space. You want somewhere you can see more than 10 feet in any direction. The narrow corridors feel like they're squeezing the air out of you. Your flashlight beam sweeps ahead, catching dust and nothing else. The dragging sound is gone. The footsteps are gone. That almost bothers you more. The library feels too still, like it's watching to see what you'll do next. When you reach the reading room, you step inside slowly, scanning corners, under tables, behind columns. The room is empty. Long wooden tables set in neat rows, their surfaces scarred with decades of use. Green-shaded lamps line the tables, all dark now, their cords coiled neatly like they're asleep. Tall windows line one wall, but the glass shows only black. Outside might as well not exist.
The emergency lights cast long shadows across the floor, breaking the room into strips of light and dark. You move to the center of the room and stop, standing there breathing, listening. Your body feels heavy, like gravity has been turned up. The cold is getting into you now, seeping through your uniform, settling in your joints. You rub your hands together, then shove them into your pockets. Your fingers brush against the crumpled wrapper of a protein bar you ate earlier in the shift. The emptiness of it makes your stomach clench harder. You check your watch again. Time has passed, but not enough, not nearly enough. Morning feels impossibly far away. You try to remember how long lockdowns usually last during drills. An hour? 2, maybe? This has already gone longer than that, and nothing about it feels like a drill. Drills don't leave footprints. Drills don't lie about how many people are in the building. You sit down at one of the tables without fully deciding to. The wood is cold through your pants. You rest your elbows on the surface and lean forward, head in your hands, forcing yourself to think. Panic won't help. Running won't help. You need a plan, even if it's a bad one. You think about resources, vending machines, staff kitchens. Somewhere in the building there has to be food. Even a handful of crackers would help, even sugar packets. Anything to quiet the gnawing long enough to keep your head clear. You stand up again, joints protesting, and start toward the door on the far side of the room that leads into a staff area. Your steps feel unsteady now, like you're walking after standing up too fast. You pause, wait for the dizziness to pass, then keep going. Hunger does this too, you tell yourself. Low blood sugar, stress, normal reactions to abnormal conditions. You cling to the word normal, like it still applies.
The staff area beyond the door is dimmer, the emergency lights weaker. The smell here changes again. Less paper, more stale coffee and cleaning supplies. You pass a small break room first, pushing the door open cautiously. Inside, a table sits against one wall, a microwave above a mini fridge, cabinets bolted overhead. Your heart lifts despite yourself. This is good. This is something concrete. You close the door behind you and flick your flashlight on, sweeping the room. Nothing moves. You go straight to the fridge and pull it open. The light inside flickers weakly. It's mostly empty. Condiment packets, a half-used bottle of creamer. Someone's forgotten yogurt with a date you don't bother reading. You grab it anyway, tear the lid off with your fingers, and eat it standing there. It's warm, sour, and thin, but it's calories. You don't stop to think about food safety. You just shovel it down, scraping the container clean with a finger and licking it without shame. Your stomach twists in protest, then settles slightly, like it's grateful even for this. You check the cabinets next. Coffee, tea, sugar packets. You rip one open and pour it straight into your mouth, grimacing at the sweetness. Another. You chase it with a gulp of water from your bottle. The sugar hits fast, a brief jittery lift that makes your hands shake. You breathe through it, letting your body recalibrate. This buys you time. Not much, but time. As you're closing the cabinet, you notice something scratched into the underside of the shelf. It's faint, easy to miss. You lean closer, angling your flashlight just right. Help. The letters are uneven, carved deep into the wood with something sharp. Old, maybe, or maybe not. It's hard to tell in this light. Your chest tightens again. You straighten and scan the room, suddenly aware of how small it is, how easy it would be to trap someone here. You step back slowly, every sense on edge, but nothing happens. The room stays quiet, dead. You leave the break room quickly, not running but close to it, and head back into the staff corridor. The sugar rush is already fading, leaving behind a hollow, shaky feeling. Hunger isn't gone, it's just quieter, waiting its turn again. You keep moving, following signs toward another stairwell that should lead down to the lower administrative floors. Your flashlight beam wobbles as your grip tightens and loosens. You flex your fingers, trying to keep circulation going. As you're walking, your thoughts start slipping in odd ways, little jumps. You'll focus on a door handle, then realize you've been staring at it too long. You'll think you hear a sound, turn toward it, and forget what you were thinking before. It's subtle, but it scares you more than the shadows. You've been tired before. You've been hungry before. This feels like something layered on top of both, pressing down on your mind. You reach the stairwell door and push it open.
This one opens without resistance, and relief washes through you hard enough to make your knees weak. The stairwell is dim but intact, concrete steps spiraling down into darkness. You step inside and let the door close behind you, then pause, listening. The silence here is different, more hollow, less suffocating. You start down, counting steps to keep your thoughts anchored.
Halfway down the first flight, you hear something that makes you stop cold. A voice. Not clear words, just a murmur, low and indistinct, coming from below. Your heart jumps, and for a moment hope flares again, dangerous and bright. Another person, another human. You lean over the railing slightly, angling your flashlight down the stairwell. The beam cuts through the gloom, catching the curve of the steps, the landing below. You see no one. The murmur continues, rising and falling like someone talking to themselves. Your name almost forms in the sound, or maybe your brain just wants it to. You grip the railing harder, knuckles whitening. You tell yourself to call out, to announce yourself properly, but your mouth stays dry and stubbornly shut. You've learned enough tonight to be cautious with hope. You take another step down. The murmur stops instantly. The silence that follows is brutal. You wait, breath held, listening for anything. Nothing. You're suddenly aware of how dizzy you feel, how your vision seems to narrow at the edges when you stand still. You shake your head, annoyed, and continue down. When you reach the landing, the murmur starts again, this time from above you. You spin around, flashlight snapping up. The beam shows empty steps, empty railing, nothing that explains the sound. Your pulse races and your stomach churns, hunger and fear tangling together. You feel stupid suddenly, embarrassed by how your body is reacting. You rub your face hard, grounding yourself in the roughness of your gloves. This is what happens, you think, not quite consciously. This is what happens when you don't eat, when you don't sleep. You start hearing things. The explanation is comforting, even as a part of you knows it doesn't cover everything you've seen. You continue down until you reach the lower administrative floor. The door opens into a wide hallway lined with offices and storage rooms. The lights here are brighter, steadier, and the air is warmer. For a moment, it feels almost normal. You let yourself breathe a little easier, your shoulders dropping for the first time in what feels like hours. That's when you notice the chairs. They're stacked neatly in the middle of the hallway, one on top of another, forming a tall, careful column. You stop and stare at them. You know these chairs. They belong in a conference room down the hall. You remember seeing them there earlier in the evening, arranged around a long table. You didn't stack them. No one should have, not during a lockdown. You walk closer, circling the stacks slowly. The chairs are balanced too perfectly to be accidental. One wrong angle and they topple. Whoever did this took time, care. The thought makes your skin crawl. You look down at the floor around the stack. No footprints, no scuffs, just clean tile reflecting the emergency lights. Your head starts to ache, a dull pressure behind your eyes. You blink hard, trying to clear it, but the lights seem too bright now, too sharp. You smell something again, paper and dust, out of place down here where it should smell like carpet cleaner and office air. The smell makes your stomach roll. Hunger surges back, sharper this time, twisting painfully. You press a hand to your abdomen, breathing through it. You move past the chairs, forcing yourself not to linger, and check the nearest office. Locked. The next. Locked. Every door you try refuses you. Red lights blinking like tiny judgments. You're shut out of everything that might help. Phones, computers, more food. The sense of being managed tightens around you again, invisible but firm. By the time you reach the end of the hallway, your head is spinning slightly. You lean against the wall, eyes closed, just for a second. When you open them, the hallway looks wrong, longer than it should be. The far end seems to drift away as you focus on it. You blink again, hard, and it snaps back into place. You laugh quietly, a short, humorless sound. Get it together, you think. You take another sugar packet from your pocket, forgotten there from the break room, and tear it open with your teeth. You pour it into your mouth and chase it with the last of your water. It helps, but only a little. You're running on fumes now, and you know it. As you push away from the wall and start back toward the stairwell, you catch a glimpse of movement at the edge of your vision. You turn, flashlight up, heart pounding. The hallway is empty.
But for a split second, just long enough to register, you could have sworn you saw someone standing at the far end, not moving, just watching. The image lingers even after it's gone, burned into your thoughts. You rub your eyes again, frustrated and scared in equal measure. Hunger, exhaustion, cold, they're all stacking up now, grinding you down. Your thoughts feel slower, less reliable. You're starting to understand that whatever is happening in this building doesn't need to chase you. It doesn't need to rush. It just has to wait. Because the longer you stay trapped here, the weaker you get. And as you turn back toward the stairs, stomach aching, head throbbing, you can't shake the growing fear that the library knows this too, and that it's counting on it. You climb the stairs slower than before, one hand dragging along the cold railing, the other locked around your flashlight like it might anchor you to reality. The sugar is gone now. Whatever brief lift it gave you has burned off, leaving behind a hollow weakness that seeps into your muscles and fogs your thoughts. Your stomach cramps again, sharp this time, a reminder that calories aren't optional when fear keeps your heart racing for hours. Each step feels heavier than it should, like the air itself is resisting you. By the time you reach the upper landing, your breathing is uneven, not panicked, just tired, bone-deep tired, the kind that makes small decisions feel complicated. You pause with your hand on the door, eyes closed, listening. Nothing. No footsteps, no dragging, no murmurs, just the building's low hum, steady and patient. You push through. The space beyond opens into another reading area, smaller than the one before, with low shelves and individual study carrels tucked against the walls. This section feels more personal somehow, like people were meant to sit here alone with their thoughts. The emergency lights cast weak halos over each desk, leaving the corners in shadow. Your flashlight fills in the gaps, but the beam feels thinner now, less authoritative. You notice your hand trembling and clamp down harder, annoyed at your body for betraying you.
You move between the carrels, checking each one out of habit. Empty. 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 Halfway down the row, you stop. A chair is pulled out. Not overturned, not knocked aside, just pulled back slightly, as if someone stood up and stepped away. A notebook lies open on the desk, its pages filled with tight, slanted handwriting. The ink looks dark, fresh enough to catch the light. Your pulse quickens. This isn't old. This isn't something left behind days ago. Someone was here, recently. You approach slowly, scanning the room as you go. The notebook doesn't say anything useful at a glance. Research notes, citations, fragments of thought. Academic. Boring. Human. The ordinariness of it hits you harder than anything else tonight. This is proof of a normal person doing a normal thing in a place that has stopped being normal. You straighten and open your mouth to call out, your voice dry and uncertain. Before any sound comes out, you hear it. A voice. Clearer this time. Closer. Not a murmur, not an echo. A human voice, low and strained, coming from somewhere beyond the shelves to your right. The sound jolts through you, electric. Hope flares again, painful and dangerous, but you can't stop it. You pivot toward the sound, flashlight snapping in that direction. "You're not alone," the voice says, rough and quiet, like someone afraid to be overheard. Your heart slams against your ribs. You swallow hard and force your voice out before you can lose your nerve. You announce yourself the way you're trained to, identifying your role, keeping your tone calm. The words feel clumsy in your mouth after so much silence, but they're real, solid, human. There's a pause, long enough that doubt creeps back in. Then the voice answers again, closer now, coming from behind a row of shelves. It sounds tired, hoarse. Male, maybe, or female with a rough edge. You can't quite tell. "Thank God. I thought I was losing it." Relief hits you so hard it makes your eyes sting. You start moving toward the shelves, quicker now, calling out again, asking where they are, if they're hurt. The response comes back uneven, fragmented, but unmistakably real. Someone is there. Someone alive. You round the end of the shelf and see them.
They're sitting on the floor, back against the shelves, knees pulled up to their chest. A uniform like yours, though dirtier, rumpled like it's been slept in. Another watchman. Their face is pale in the emergency light, eyes sunken, jaw clenched tight. They look up at you like they're afraid you might vanish if they blink. For a second, neither of you moves. You just stare at each other, two exhausted animals recognizing the same fear. You kneel slowly, keeping some distance without really thinking about why. Up close, you can see the signs you recognize too well. Shaking hands, shallow breathing, the glassy look of someone who hasn't slept and hasn't eaten enough. There's a dark smear on their sleeve you don't want to think too hard about. They laugh weakly, rubbing their face with both hands. I knew I heard someone. I knew it wasn't just in my head. You want to agree. You want to say something reassuring. Instead, you ask how long they've been here. The answer makes your stomach drop.
They lost contact hours ago, earlier than you did. They were checking a lower section when doors started locking behind them. Radio went dead, phone useless. They tried to move toward the main floors, but the building funneled them up instead, door after door ceiling shut. They haven't seen anyone since, haven't had anything to eat, haven't slept. At some point they stopped moving and just waited. As they talk, you notice their eyes keep flicking to the shadows between the shelves, like they expect something to step out at any moment. You recognize the look. It's the same one you see in your own reflection when you catch it in dark glass. You tell them about the panel, about the occupant count, about the ladders and the footsteps and the cough that didn't sound right. You watch their face tighten as you speak, hope draining away with every detail. When you mention the count, 1, they go very still. That's not possible, they say quietly. I'm here. You nod, because you know. You know how wrong it is and how little that matters. The building doesn't seem to agree. For a while, you just sit there together, backs to the shelves, sharing the same cold air. The presence of another person helps, but it doesn't fix anything. It just makes the danger feel sharper, more complicated. If you die here, you won't even die alone. That thought sticks with you. Their stomach growls, loud and embarrassing. They grimace and press a hand to it. You feel a weak echo of it in your own gut. Hunger isn't just discomfort now. It's starting to feel like a threat. You tell them about the break room, about the yogurt and sugar packets. Their eyes light up, then dim again when you explain where it is and how many doors are locked between here and there. Still, it's something, a goal. Movement feels better than waiting. You help them to their feet. They sway slightly, and you steady them without comment. Their skin feels cold through the uniform. Too cold. You start moving together, slower than you would alone, adjusting your pace to theirs. The shelves feel closer with two bodies between them. The shadows feel thicker, more crowded. As you walk, they keep talking, filling the silence in short bursts, about hearing voices that stopped when they turned toward them, about seeing lights turn on in rooms they hadn't entered, about doors opening just long enough to be tempting before locking again. You don't interrupt. You don't need to. It matches your experience too closely to argue with. At one point, they stop mid-sentence and grab your arm hard. Their grip is stronger than you expect. You freeze instantly, flashlight beam steady. Do you hear that? They whisper. You listen. At first, there's nothing. Then, faintly, beneath the hum of the building, you hear it too. A soft rustling sound, like paper being handled somewhere nearby. Pages turning, slow, deliberate. Not the random pop of spines adjusting. Something intentional. The sound drifts closer, then farther away, moving through spaces you can't see. Your companion's breathing speeds up. You can feel it through their grip on your arm. You both stand there, silent, until the sound fades. That's been happening, they say quietly. It follows me. You don't answer because you don't have anything comforting to offer. Instead, you start moving again, guiding them toward the corridor that leads back toward the stairwell you came from. You don't tell them it locked behind you. There's no point yet.
The hallway ahead looks the same as it did before. Same lights, same signs. But something about it feels off now that you're not alone. The space seems tighter, like it's adjusting to accommodate two of you. You catch yourself thinking that and force it away, jaw clenched. Halfway down the corridor, your companion stumbles. Not a full fall, but enough to make you stop. They lean against the wall, eyes closed, breathing hard. Sweat beads on their forehead despite the cold. You ask if they're okay. They nod too quickly. "I'm just dizzy," they say. "Haven't eaten since before my shift." You dig into your pockets and come up with nothing but lint and the empty sugar wrappers. You feel a surge of useless anger at yourself. You should have grabbed more. You should have thought ahead. Survival thinking comes late when you've never needed it before. You suggest resting for a minute. They shake their head immediately, eyes snapping open. "No," they say. "If I stop, I don't think I'll start again." The honesty in that scares you more than anything else they've said. You keep moving. When you reach the junction where the dragging sound followed you earlier, you slow instinctively. The space feels wrong again, charged. Your flashlight beam sweeps the floor. The rolling ladder is there, closer than before, close enough that you could touch it without stepping forward. One of its wheels turns slowly, back and forth, as if nudged by a breeze that doesn't exist. Your companion sucks in a sharp breath. "That thing," they whisper. "It keeps moving when I'm not looking." You back away together, step by careful step, keeping the ladder in sight. The rustling sound returns, louder now, coming from between the shelves behind it. Pages turning faster, too fast. Your heart pounds, and you feel sweat trickle down your back. Then, suddenly, the sound stops. The ladder stops moving. The silence crashes back down around you, heavy and absolute. Your companion's hand tightens around yours. You realize you've been holding on to each other without noticing. "Whatever this is," they say, voice shaking despite their effort to keep it steady, "it doesn't like us together." The thought lands hard. It explains too much. The way the noises seemed to follow one person, the way the system claimed there was only one occupant, the way the buildings seemed to guide you separately until now. You start to answer, but something else interrupts you. A sharp pain in your companion's side. They gasp and double over, clutching their ribs. You support their weight automatically, heart racing. They insist it's nothing, just hunger, just stress. But their face is gray, their breathing shallow. You guide them to the floor and crouch beside them, flashlight scanning their body for injuries you might have missed. That's when you see the blood. It's not pouring, it's seeping, dark and slow through the fabric near their side. They follow your gaze and go very still. "I don't remember getting hurt," they say quietly.
You don't either, and that's the problem. The realization settles over you like a suffocating blanket. Hunger, exhaustion, fear, they're all weakening you, making you miss things, making you unreliable witnesses to your own bodies. You don't know how long they've been bleeding. You don't know when it started. You don't know what else you might not be noticing. You press your jacket against the wound, applying pressure the way you were taught. Your hands shake, but you force them steady. Your companion clenches their teeth, nodding once, eyes squeezed shut. Somewhere nearby, in the spaces between shelves and shadows, you hear the faintest sound of pages turning again. And as you sit there, holding pressure on a wound you can't explain, with hunger gnawing at both of you, and the library quietly rearranging itself around your shared presence, you begin to understand the next, more brutal truth. You weren't meant to find each other, and now that you have, whatever is controlling this place may decide one of you is surplus. You stay on the floor longer than you should, pressing your jacket into the wound and pretending pressure alone can solve this. Your hands are slick now, warm in a way that feels wrong in the cold air. The fabric darkens steadily beneath your palms, too steadily. Your companion's breathing is shallow, fast, each inhale sounding like it takes effort they don't have. Their jaw is locked tight, teeth clenched hard enough you can hear it faintly over the hum of the building.
You tell yourself this is manageable. People bleed. People get hurt. You've taken first aid courses. You know the steps. But this isn't a clean cut. This isn't something obvious. The blood isn't bright. It's dark, almost black in the emergency light, seeping instead of flowing, as if it's leaking out of somewhere deeper than skin. You ask them to stay awake. You say their name. You say it again when they don't answer right away. Their eyes open slowly, unfocused, pupils wide. They nod, just barely, like even that takes too much energy. "I'm cold," they say. The words hit you harder than a scream would have. Cold means shock. Cold means their body is already giving up ground. You look around desperately, scanning the shelves, the corridor, anything that could help. There's nothing. No blankets, no med kit, no phone that works, just paper and shadows and locked doors. You shrug out of your jacket despite the bite of the air and drape it over their shoulders, keeping one hand pressed against the wound. Your own teeth start to chatter almost immediately. You don't care. You can be cold. You can be hungry. You can be scared. They can't afford to be any of those things anymore. The rustling sound returns, closer now, not fast, not aggressive, just present. Pages turning, one after another, slow and deliberate, like someone reading carefully nearby. You look up, heart pounding, flashlight sweeping the shelves around you. The beam catches nothing but spines and dust. The sound continues anyway, drifting from one aisle to the next, circling. Your companion notices it too. Their eyes flick toward the shelves, fear cutting through the haze. "It's here," they whisper. You shake your head without really knowing why, a useless denial. You tell them to focus on you, on breathing. In through the nose, out through the mouth. You count for them when they can't. The sound of pages turns stops abruptly, like it's listening. Minutes stretch, or maybe seconds. Time doesn't feel right anymore. Your arms start to ache from holding pressure. Your fingers go numb. You shift slightly to adjust your grip, and your companion gasps sharply, a sound that's half pain, half surprise. "Don't move," they say, voice thin. "Please." You freeze again, apologizing even though you know it's pointless. Sweat runs down your temples despite the cold. Your heart is pounding so hard you're afraid it's shaking your hands. You tell yourself to slow it. You tell yourself panic won't help, but panic doesn't care what you tell it. Their breathing changes. It becomes uneven, hitching on the inhale, shallow on the exhale. You lean closer, listening, watching their chest. Their skin looks gray now, stretched tight over bone. Their lips have lost color. You've seen this look before, on training videos, on people who didn't make it. "No," you say quietly, more to the building than to them. "No, stay with me." They blink at you, slow and heavy. Their focus drifts past your face, toward the ceiling, like they're looking at something you can't see. For a terrifying moment, you wonder if they see someone else standing there. "Do you hear that?" they ask softly. You don't answer right away. You do hear something, but it isn't pages now. It's a low, distant sound, like air moving through a long tunnel, almost like breathing. The building's breathing. You force yourself not to react, not to confirm it. "I hear you," you say instead. "That's all that matters." They smile weakly at that. The expression looks wrong on their face, like it doesn't belong there. "You know," they murmur, "I thought this job would be quiet." The absurdity of it almost breaks you. You feel a sharp sting behind your eyes and blink hard, forcing it back. This isn't the time. You can't let go now. You press harder against the wound, even as your arms shake. They inhale slow and shallow, then exhale in a long breath that seems to drain something essential out of them. Their body slackens slightly against the floor. You call their name again, louder this time. No response. You shake them gently, then harder, immediately hating yourself for it. "Hey," you say, voice cracking despite your effort to keep it steady. "Hey, stay with me." Their eyes are half-lidded now, unfocused. Their chest rises once more, shallow and uneven. Then it doesn't rise again. For a second, you don't accept it. You wait, holding your breath, watching, willing their lungs to move. You count silently. 1, 2, 3. You press your ear closer to their mouth, listening for any sign of air. Nothing. You feel for a pulse at their neck, fingers fumbling, slick with blood.
There is nothing there. The silence in the library changes instantly. It deepens, thickens, like the building has leaned in closer to observe the moment. The hum drops to a lower pitch. The emergency lights flicker once, then stabilize. Somewhere nearby, a book falls from a shelf and hits the floor with a dull thud. You sit back slowly, hands still hovering over the wound like you're afraid to let go. Your fingers feel stiff, useless. Your chest feels hollow, as if something vital has been scooped out of you and left behind. You stare at their face, waiting for it to change back, to do something human. It doesn't. Their eyes are open now, fixed on nothing. Their mouth is slightly parted, like they were about to say something and ran out of time. You reach out and try to close their eyes. Your hand trembles so badly it takes 2 tries. When you finally manage it, the finality of the gesture hits you like a punch to the gut. You sit there with the body longer than makes sense. You don't know what you're supposed to do next. You don't know how long you're allowed to stay. You don't know if leaving them alone here is worse than whatever will happen if you stay. The hunger in your stomach twists painfully, sudden and violent. The cold sinks deeper into your bones now that you're not moving. Your teeth chatter uncontrollably. You wrap your arms around yourself, rocking slightly without realizing it. Shock isn't just for the dying. It crawls into you too, quiet and patient. The rustling sound starts again. It's closer than it's ever been, right behind the shelves near where you're sitting. Pages turning, slow and careful, like whoever is reading doesn't want to damage the book. You don't look right away. You're afraid that if you do, you'll see something you can't unsee. A shape shifts in the shadows between the shelves, not stepping out, just adjusting, like someone leaning to get a better view. Your heart pounds, but there's no adrenaline left to fuel panic properly. Just a deep, exhausted fear that sits heavy in your chest. You finally raise your flashlight and aim it toward the sound. The beam cuts across shelves, over bindings and labels and dust. There is nothing there, but the pages keep turning. You stand up slowly, legs stiff and shaky. The body at your feet looks impossibly small now, like it's already being absorbed by the space around it. You realize with a sick lurch that you don't have the strength to move them. You don't have the strength to do anything dignified. All you can do is leave. "I'm sorry," you whisper, the words slipping out before you can stop them. The sound of pages turning stops instantly. The silence that follows is absolute. Not even the hum remains. The library feels like it's holding its breath. You step backward, one slow step at a time, keeping your flashlight trained on the shelves. Nothing moves. You back away until the body is no longer in the beam, until it's swallowed by shadow. Your chest tightens painfully at the thought, but you force yourself to keep moving. As you retreat down the corridor, something shifts behind you. Not footsteps, not dragging. A subtle sound, like paper sliding across paper. You don't turn around. You don't need to. The panel you passed earlier flickers to life as you move by it, unprompted. The screen glows softly in the dark. You glance at it despite yourself. Containment protocol, active. Occupant count, 1. The number hasn't changed. Your mouth goes dry. Your hands curl into fists so tight your nails bite into your palms. The building never counted them. Not before, not now. Whatever this system recognizes as a person, whatever it tracks and manages and contains, your companion never qualified. The implications settle over you, slowly, horribly. They didn't die here because of bad luck. They died because, to the library, they were already gone. You stagger away from the panel, breathing hard, head spinning. Grief hits you late and sideways, a crushing weight that makes it hard to stand upright. You feel anger surge up too, hot, bitter, useless. You want to scream. You want to tear books from shelves and smash lights and make the building react. You do none of that. You don't have the energy. Instead, you keep walking, one foot in front of the other, letting the shelves slide past you like a slow-moving current.
Hunger claws at you again, sharper now, mixed with nausea. Your hands feel clumsy. Your thoughts slip and stutter. You find yourself replaying the last moments over and over, searching for something you missed, a sign, a sound, a chance to change the outcome. There isn't one. By the time you reach the next junction, your vision is narrowing at the edges. The emergency lights seem dimmer, or maybe your eyes are failing. You lean against the wall, head bowed, breathing hard. The image of their face, eyes open, unfocused, won't leave you. It sits behind your eyes, burned in. Somewhere nearby, deeper in the stacks, you hear a sound you recognize instantly. A book closing. Not falling, not snapping shut. A deliberate, careful closure, as if someone has finished reading. You straighten slowly, heart hammering, and look toward the sound. The corridor ahead is empty. The shelves stand silent and still. But you feel it then, unmistakably.
You are alone now in a way you weren't before. Not just physically, not just emotionally. Something has shifted since the moment they stopped breathing. The library feels calmer, more settled, as if a problem has resolved itself. You push off the wall and start moving again, driven now by something colder than fear. Survival, stripped down to its rawest form. You understand with brutal clarity that this place can kill without touching you, that it can wait you out, starve you, exhaust you, erase you piece by piece. And as you walk away from the spot where your companion died, away from the bloodstain already darkening the floor, you realize the most terrifying part isn't that they're gone. It's that the library seems satisfied. And now, with no one left to weaken it but you, it can afford to take its time. You move without direction for a long time after that. You don't know how long. The corridors blur together, the shelves repeating in patterns that stop feeling real. Your legs carry you on muscle memory alone, turning corners, passing signs you stop reading because the words don't stick anymore. Hunger has shifted into something sharper, uglier. It isn't just in your stomach now. It's in your hands trembling, in your jaw clenched tight enough to ache, in your head where thoughts skid and fail to connect cleanly. The cold doesn't help. It creeps into you now that you're no longer distracted by another body nearby. Your jacket is gone, left draped over someone who doesn't need it anymore. Every breath feels thin, dry. Your mouth tastes like copper and dust. You swallow repeatedly, but it doesn't help. You catch yourself licking your lips and stop, embarrassed, even though no one is watching. At least you tell yourself no one is watching. You enter the catalog room without realizing you've chosen it. Rows of long wooden drawers line the walls, each labeled with faded letters and numbers. The emergency lights cast shallow illumination across the floor, leaving the upper walls in shadow. This room feels older than the rest of the library, less updated, less forgiving. The air here is stagnant, thick with paper dust that coats the back of your throat. You stop in the center of the room and stand there, breathing, listening. Your heart sounds too loud. Your ears ring faintly. The hum of the building is softer here, distant like it's been muted. You rub your face with both hands and let them drop, staring at nothing. You laugh quietly. It slips out of you without warning, a short, broken sound that echoes too much in the room. You clamp your mouth shut immediately, pulse spiking, but nothing reacts. No lights flicker, no doors close. The library doesn't care. Your head feels wrong, light, heavy, both at once. You lean against one of the catalog cabinets, pressing your forehead to the cool wood. The contact helps, grounding you for a second. You close your eyes and breathe slowly, counting again like you did earlier, trying to pull yourself back into your body. When you open your eyes, someone is standing across the room. Your heart slams so hard it steals your breath.
You jerk upright, flashlight snapping up, beam cutting straight through the space where the figure stands. The room is empty. Your pulse roars in your ears. You stand there shaking, scanning every corner, every aisle between the cabinets. Nothing. You lower the flashlight slightly, swallowing hard. Hunger, you whisper to yourself. Sleep deprivation. You know the explanations. You've heard them before. People hallucinate under stress. They see movement that isn't there, faces, bodies. Your brain is a machine, and machines glitch when they're pushed too hard. The problem is that the image lingers. You saw the uniform, the stance, the way the figure's shoulders sloped forward slightly, familiar in a way that makes your chest ache. You squeeze your eyes shut, forcing it away. You pull one of the catalog drawers open at random. The wood scrapes softly, the sound loud in the quiet room. Inside are rows of yellowed cards, neat and orderly, each bearing typed information and handwritten notes. You stare at them without really reading, your eyes sliding over dates and titles that refuse to mean anything. Your stomach twists again, sharp enough to make you hiss through your teeth. You lean harder against the cabinet, one hand gripping the edge of the drawer to keep yourself upright. Your vision blurs at the edges, tunneling slightly. You breathe through it, slow and shallow until it eases. When you look down again, you freeze. One of the cards has been pulled out farther than the rest. It sticks out at an angle, wrong in a way that draws your eye immediately. You hesitate, then pinch it between your fingers and slide it free. The card is new, cleaner than the others. The paper is brighter, less yellowed. The text is typed, crisp, and dark. It has your name on it. You stare at the letters, certain you're misreading them. You check again. Same result. First name, last name. Correct spelling. Beneath it, a date. Tonight's gate. Your mouth goes dry. You flip the card over, hands shaking. There's more text on the back, written in a neat, unfamiliar hand. Status, active. Location, East Wing. Notes, awaiting conclusion. A laugh bubbles up in your throat, hysterical and sharp. You clamp it down hard, chest heaving. This is it, you think. This is where you finally lose it. You shove the card back into the drawer and slam it shut harder than you mean to. The sound echoes through the room like a gunshot.
You wait for something to respond. Nothing does. You stagger away from the cabinets, rubbing your temples. The pressure in your head is building now, a steady ache that makes it hard to focus your eyes. Lights seem too bright, shadows too deep. You keep thinking you hear your companion's footsteps behind you, matching your pace, but when you stop, the sound stops too. You back toward the wall and slide down until you're sitting on the floor, knees pulled up, arms wrapped around yourself. The cold seeps through the fabric of your pants immediately. You don't care. You just need to sit, just for a minute. Your thoughts start drifting in strange loops. You think about food obsessively, vending machines, crackers, warm meals you barely remember eating. You imagine the taste so vividly it makes your mouth water. You swallow and feel nothing but emptiness. You think about sleep, about lying down on one of the long reading tables and closing your eyes, just for a moment. The idea feels dangerously comforting. Your eyelids droop despite your effort to keep them open. That's when you hear the voice again. It's right beside you this time. You did what you could. Your body locks up, every muscle rigid. You don't turn your head. You don't want to see. The voice sounds wrong, not distorted, not inhuman, just off, flat, too calm. It sounds like your companion's voice, but stripped of warmth, stripped of strain, like a recording played back without emotion. You stayed, the voice continues. Most people wouldn't. Your heart hammers so hard you feel dizzy. You force yourself to breathe. In, out. You tell yourself it's your mind, replaying things, filling the silence with what it expects to hear. You tell yourself you are not responding. The voice sighs softly, close enough that you feel it rather than hear it. There's no point pretending.
it says. You're tired. You're hungry. You're alone. Your stomach twists violently, nausea rising. You clamp a hand over your mouth, swallowing it back down. You squeeze your eyes shut, shaking your head in denial. When you open them again, you're not in the catalog room anymore. You're standing in the main rotunda. The space is vast and open, the high ceiling disappearing into darkness. Long tables stretch out in every direction, filled with people, students, researchers, librarians. Every seat is occupied. Lamps glow warmly, casting steady light across open books and notebooks. The low murmur of voices fills the air, comforting and normal. Daytime.
For a moment, relief crashes over you so hard you almost cry. This is real, you think. You finally passed out. This is your mind resetting, dragging you somewhere safe. You take a step forward, then another. No one looks at you. No one reacts. They read, they write, they whisper to each other, perfectly absorbed. You move closer to one of the tables and recognize a face. It's your companion. They sit upright, healthy, clean, flipping through a book with focused attention. No blood, no pallor. They look up and smile when they see you, casual and familiar. You look rough, they say lightly. Long night? Your chest tightens painfully. You reach out, desperate to touch them, to confirm they're real. Your hand passes straight through. The scene shudders violently. The lights flicker. The murmur of voices distorts, stretching into something low and unpleasant. The people at the tables turn toward you in unison. Their faces are blank. Not missing features, just blank. Smooth where eyes and mouths should be. The rotunda dissolves around you, peeling away like paper burned from the edges. You stumble backward, gasping, and slam into something hard. A catalog cabinet. You're back in the room, sitting on the floor, heart racing, breath ragged. Sweat soaks your shirt despite the cold. Your hands shake uncontrollably. You look around wildly, half expecting the faceless crowd to still be there. The room is empty. You laugh again, this time broken and breathless, on the edge of sobbing. Hallucinations, full ones now, not just shadows or sounds. Your body is failing you faster than you realized. You push yourself to your feet, legs unsteady. Sitting still is dangerous. Closing your eyes is dangerous. You need to move, even if you don't know where you're going. You stagger toward the exit, gripping the cabinets for balance. As you reach the doorway, you hear a soft sound behind you. A drawer opening. You turn slowly. One of the catalog drawers is sliding open by itself, just a few inches, enough to show the edge of a card inside. You don't approach it. You don't need to. You already know what it will say. You back out of the room, heart pounding, and the drawer slides shut with a gentle click, like a satisfied mouth closing. The hallway outside feels narrower now. The lights seem dimmer. Your vision swims slightly as you move. You catch flashes at the edge of your sight, figures standing just out of view, turning corners ahead of you, always gone when you look directly. Your head throbs. Your stomach cramps again, harder this time, forcing you to bend forward slightly as you walk. You taste bile and swallow it back down, breathing through your nose. You're hallucinating. You know that. But as you pass another emergency panel and see it flicker to life unprompted, you realize something that makes your blood run cold. The panel doesn't show errors anymore. It shows progress. Containment protocol. Active. Occupant count, 1. Status, stable. Estimated resolution, pending. Stable. The word sits there, calm and reassuring, in a way that feels deeply wrong. The building hums softly around you, steady and even, like a machine that has found its rhythm. You stagger past the panel, laughing weakly, tears finally spilling over despite your effort to hold them back. Hunger, exhaustion, fear, grief, they've all blended together into something unbearable. Your thoughts slip and slide, refusing to stay in order. You understand now that the library doesn't need to chase you or scare you anymore. It just needs to wait while your mind does the rest of the work. And as you move deeper into the stacks, vision blurring, head swimming, you realize with a sinking certainty that the hallucinations aren't just a side effect of survival. They're part of the process. The library is letting you see what it wants you to see, and it's not finished reading you yet.
You don't know how long you walk before the space opens up again. One moment, you're drifting through narrow aisles, shelves brushing your shoulders, the smell of paper and dust clogging your nose. The next, the stacks fall away and the ceiling lifts, rising high enough that your flashlight beam dies before it reaches the top. You stop without meaning to, swaying slightly on your feet, and recognize where you are. The main rotunda. It looks wrong at night. Too big, too empty. The long tables sit in perfect rows, their surfaces bare and pale under the emergency lights. The great desk at the far end stands abandoned, dark monitors reflecting faint glows. The windows are black mirrors, showing only your own distorted shape when you move. Sound behaves strangely here. Every step echoes, then seems to vanish before it should, like the room doesn't want to give your presence back to you. Your heart starts pounding harder, not from fear this time, but from something dangerously close to hope. This is the center. This is where the exits are supposed to be. This is where things reconnect. You force your legs to carry you forward, each step deliberate, careful not to rush and trip on your own weakness. Hunger claws at you again, sharp and nauseating, but you ignore it. Your mouth is dry enough that your tongue sticks to your teeth. You taste blood where you've bitten your lip without realizing it. None of that matters right now. What matters is the far wall. The emergency exit. You see it across the rotunda, unmistakable even in the dim light. The red sign glows steadily above the door, brighter than anything else in the room. It looks solid, real, a promise made of metal and concrete instead of imagination. Your chest tightens painfully as you stare at it. You don't let yourself believe yet. Belief is dangerous. Belief has hurt you already. You move. Your footsteps echo too loudly in the open space, each one sounding like a mistake. Halfway across the rotunda, you pause, listening. The building hum is softer here, almost respectful, like the library is giving you room. No pages turning, no footsteps, no voices whispering your name. Just you and the door. Your vision tunnels slightly as you walk, the edges blurring, the center pulling you forward. You blink hard, fighting the dizziness. You can't afford to sit down. You can't afford to pass out. You tell yourself to keep moving, to count steps if you have to. 20. 30. The door grows closer, solidifying with every step. You can see the push bar now, the scuffed metal where countless hands have pressed it in emergencies that ended quickly and cleanly. Fire drills, false alarms, controlled chaos. You imagine what it will feel like when you touch it. Cool metal, resistance, then release. You reach it and stop, chest heaving. Up close, the door looks exactly as it should. No damage, no warning signs you can see. Just an exit doing what exits are meant to do. You rest your forehead briefly against the cool surface, eyes closed, breathing hard. The contact grounds you, sends a jolt of reality through your fogged mind. You can do this. You wrap both hands around the bar and push. Nothing happens. The door doesn't budge, not even a fraction. You push harder, muscles straining, legs braced against the floor. Pain flares in your shoulders, sharp and immediate. The bar doesn't move. The door might as well be part of the wall. No, you whisper, the word thin and useless. You try again, slamming your weight into it this time. The impact rattles through your arms and into your chest, knocking the air from your lungs. The door shudders, just slightly, enough to give you hope, then settles back into immobility. The red sign above it glows steadily, unbothered. Your breathing spirals, short and fast. You step back, dizzy, hands trembling. You check the frame, the hinges, the floor beneath it, shining your flashlight desperately like you might spot a trick or a release you've missed. There's nothing. No manual override, no secondary latch, just a door that has decided it isn't going to open.
A laugh bubbles up out of you, sharp and cracked. It sounds wrong in the vast space, bouncing back too loudly. You press your hands to your face, dragging them down hard, trying to pull yourself together. Think. Fire exits are supposed to open no matter what. That's the rule. That's the law. You cling to that thought even as your body shakes. You try the bar again, slower this time, controlled. Same result. Locked. Sealed. Final. The building hum deepens, almost imperceptibly, like a machine adjusting its load. You feel it more than hear it, a vibration through the soles of your boots and up into your bones. The rotunda feels different now, smaller, more enclosed. The air seems thicker, heavier, pressing down on your shoulders. You step back farther, eyes scanning the space. Other exits. There have to be others. You spot one on the opposite side of the room, another red sign glowing faintly. Your legs protest as you turn and start toward it, but desperation overrides pain. Halfway there, the lights flicker. Not off, just dimmer. The far exit sign fades, its red glow dulling until it looks distant, unreal. You break into a stumbling jog despite the way your stomach twists violently in protest. Your vision swims. The edges go dark again. You slow, afraid you'll fall and won't have the strength to get back up. When you reach the second door, your heart sinks before you even touch it. The push bar is wrapped in a thick metal bracket, bolted cleanly into the door on both sides. Industrial, purpose-built, not something added in a panic, something designed to keep the door closed no matter how hard someone pushes.
Your hands fall to your sides. You stare at it, chest rising and falling, and feel something inside you finally crack. Not loudly, not dramatically, just a quiet fracture, like ice giving way under slow pressure. You turn in a slow circle, flashlight beam sweeping the rotunda. Every exit you can see is the same, sealed, reinforced, controlled. The library hasn't missed anything. It hasn't forgotten about this space. It has prepared it. You sink down onto the floor near the desk, back against cold wood, legs stretched out because pulling them in feels like too much effort. The floor is hard and unforgiving. You don't care. Sitting is relief. Sitting is survival for the moment. Your head drops back, staring up into the dark ceiling. Your thoughts feel scattered now, slipping through your fingers. Hunger pulses again, fierce and nauseating. Your hands shake uncontrollably. Your body feels heavy, sluggish, like it's running out of fuel. You wonder how long it's been since you last drank anything. You can't remember. A memory surfaces without warning. Your companion's voice, the way they said they were cold. Your throat tightens and you squeeze your eyes shut, forcing the image away. Grief takes too much energy. You can't afford it right now. You open your eyes again and freeze. The rotunda isn't empty anymore. Not full, not crowded, just occupied. Figures stand at the edges of the space, between pillars and near distant tables. They don't move, they don't approach, they're just there, half lit by emergency lights, their shapes indistinct. Your heart hammers, but you don't feel the spike of terror you expect. You feel tired, so tired. You blink hard. The figures remain. They look like people at a distance, human outlines, no details you can make out from here. You raise your flashlight with shaking hands and aim it at the nearest one. The beam slides over empty space. The figure isn't there anymore, or maybe it never was. Your head throbs violently, pain spiking behind your eyes. You groan softly, pressing your palms into your sockets like you can push the world back into place. When you lower your hands, the rotunda is empty again. Your breathing comes ragged and uneven. You laugh quietly, then stop when it turns into something dangerously close to a sob. You swallow it down, jaw clenched tight. Get up, you tell yourself. Don't stop. You force yourself back onto your feet, legs trembling. Standing makes the dizziness worse, but lying down feels like giving up. You scan the desk in front of you, eyes unfocused, and notice something you missed before.
A phone. An old corded desk phone sits near the edge, its receiver resting neatly in place. It looks outdated, yellowed plastic and curled cord, but it looks intact, real. Your heart leaps painfully in your chest. You stagger toward it and grab the receiver, nearly dropping it when your hands slip.
You press it to your ear. There's a dial tone. For a split second, relief floods you so hard it makes your knees weak. You clutch the desk for balance, heart racing. A dial tone means a line. A line means outside. You fumble for the keypad, fingers clumsy, and punch in emergency numbers without thinking. The dial tone cuts out. The line goes dead. You pull the receiver away and stare at it, chest heaving. You shake it, hit the hook switch, try again. Silence. No tone. No static. Nothing. The phone is just plastic again. You slam the receiver down harder than necessary, the sound cracking through the rotunda. It echoes and echoes, then fades, leaving you alone with your breathing and the deep, steady hum of the building. You sag against the desk, head bowed, shoulders shaking. The realization settles over you slowly, sinking deep and heavy. This was the last door. Not just the exit, the last chance that made sense, the last place where rescue felt possible without something else changing first. You straighten slowly, wiping your face with the back of your hand. Your skin feels clammy, your thoughts feel thin. You look around the rotunda one last time, memorizing it without meaning to. The tables, the pillars, the black windows, the sealed doors glowing red like warnings that came too late. The library hums softly around you, steady and calm. You understand now. There is no rescue coming through those doors. If this night ends, it will end somewhere inside the building. And as you turn away from the exits, staggering back toward the stacks with an empty stomach, a fractured mind, and no strength left to waste on hope, a single, terrifying thought settles into place. The library isn't trying to stop you from leaving anymore. It's waiting to see how you end. Light finds you before you understand what it is. At first, it's just a change in the darkness, a thinning at the edges, a subtle lifting of the weight pressing down on your eyes. You think it's another hallucination. You think it's your brain trying to comfort itself again, conjuring false dawn the way it conjured crowds and voices and faces. You don't react right away. You've learned that reacting too fast only makes it worse.
You're sitting on the floor, somewhere between the stacks, back against a shelf, knees pulled in because your body won't stay stretched out anymore. Your muscles ache constantly now, a deep, sour pain that never fully fades. Your stomach is a tight, empty knot. Your head throbs with every heartbeat. You've stopped checking your watch. Time has lost its shape. Then the light grows stronger. It spills down the aisles in pale bands, cutting through the shadows that have ruled the space all night. Not the harsh white of emergency fixtures, not the sickly yellow of failing bulbs. This light is softer, broader. It moves differently. It doesn't flicker. Daylight. The realization hits you slowly like something you're afraid to name. Your breath catches halfway in, and you hold it there, listening. The hum of the building is still present, but it's changing, loosening, flattening out. The air feels different too, less stale, less trapped. You push yourself to your feet with effort, joints screaming in protest. Your legs shake so badly you have to grip the shelf to stay upright. You stand there for a moment, swaying, eyes fixed down the aisle where the light is growing stronger. Dust floats through it, visible and ordinary, the way dust is supposed to look. You take a step forward. Nothing reacts. No doors slam. No lights dim. No sounds follow you. You take another step, then another, moving slowly, afraid the wrong pace might break whatever fragile balance has shifted. The stacks open up into a wider corridor, and you see it clearly now. Sunlight, filtering in through the high windows near the ceiling, pale gold and real. The windows are no longer black mirrors. They show sky, Gray sky, overcast, morning. Your chest tightens painfully. You swallow hard, throat burning, and feel something hot and unfamiliar press behind your eyes. You don't cry yet. You don't trust it. As you move toward the central areas, you start to hear new sounds. Distant, muffled, but unmistakable. Voices. Not whispers. Not echoes. Real voices. Overlapping, imperfect. The sound of radios, footsteps that don't stop when you listen for them. You round the last corner into the main rotunda and stop short. The space looks normal. Not untouched. Chairs are out of place, papers scattered where you don't remember leaving them, but normal enough that it hurts to look at. The emergency lights are off. The main fixtures are on, bathing the room in flat morning light. The sealed exits you fought last night are open now, doors standing wide like they always did before this place turned on you.
People are here. 2 security supervisors stand near the front desk, radios in hand, faces tight and alert. A pair of firefighters linger near one of the exits, helmets under their arms. Someone from facilities is crouched near a panel, tapping at a screen. They all look up at the same time when they see you. For a second, no one speaks. Then, someone says your name. The sound hits you like a physical blow. Your knees buckle, and if you didn't grab the edge of the cable, you'd be on the floor again. Hands are on you immediately, too many, too fast, steadying, guiding, asking questions that blur together before you can answer them. You're okay. We've got you. You're safe now. Safe. The word feels fragile, like it might shatter if you hold it too tightly. They sit you down in a chair and wrap something warm around your shoulders, a blanket. You didn't even notice how badly you were shaking until it starts to slow. Someone presses a bottle into your hands and tells you to drink. The water tastes incredible. You gulp too fast and cough, chest burning, but you keep drinking anyway. Questions keep coming, but you can't keep up with them. How long were you alone? Were there any injuries? Did you see anyone else? Your mouth opens to answer, then closes again. Your thoughts slip when you try to line them up. You say there was someone else. You say it carefully, because the room feels suddenly fragile again, like it did last night. You describe another watchman. You describe the blood, the wound. You point toward the east wing, toward where you left them. The people listening exchange glances. One of the supervisors clears their throat and tells you they'll check. They say it gently, the way you talk to someone you already expect bad news from. 2 firefighters head off down the corridor, their boots loud on the floor, their presence real and solid in a way that almost hurts to watch. You sit there, wrapped in a blanket, hands still trembling around the empty water bottle, and stare at the open doors. The outside light looks wrong somehow, too bright, too unconcerned. Minutes pass, or maybe longer. Time is still slippery. When the firefighters come back, you know before they speak. They didn't find anyone. No body, no blood, no sign that anyone else was there. The shelves are clean. The floor is clean. No disturbance beyond what can be explained by system malfunctions and overnight lockdown procedures. They tell you the building's security logs show only one person inside overnight. You. The word lands heavy and final. Your mouth goes dry again. You shake your head, slow and weak, trying to deny it without speaking. You know what you saw. You know who you held. You know the weight of their body when it went still. But the library, in daylight, looks harmless, passive. Just a building full of books and quiet spaces, the kind of place where people expect safety, not death. They take you out through the main doors shortly after that. The outside air hits you like a shock, cold, damp, alive with city sounds that feel too loud after the night you survived. Sirens in the distance, cars passing, someone laughing somewhere down the street. You stand on the steps wrapped in a blanket, blinking in the gray morning light and feel unreal, like you're the thing that doesn't belong here. An ambulance is waiting. They insist you get checked out. You don't argue. You don't have the strength.
As they guide you inside, you look back at the library one last time. From the outside, it's just stone and glass again. Calm, ordinary. The windows reflect the sky. The doors stand open, welcoming the day's first visitors. Nothing about it suggests what happened inside. As the ambulance doors close and the engine starts, you finally let your head rest back against the seat. Your body feels hollowed out, drained. Every muscle aches. Your stomach twists painfully again, reminding you that survival doesn't erase consequences. You close your eyes. Behind them, you still see shelves, still hear pages turning, still feel the weight of a presence that didn't leave with you. Morning has come. You have been found. You are alive. But as the vehicle pulls away and the library slips out of view, a quiet certainty settles into you, cold and unshakable. Whatever happened in that building ended when the sun came up. Whatever the library did to you didn't. And as you breathe in city air and let the sounds of the waking world wash over you, you understand the truth you'll carry forward from this night. You weren't rescued. You were released. You wake up in a hospital room that smells like disinfectant and plastic. The air too clean, too sharp after the stale dust of the stacks. For a few seconds, you don't know where you are. White ceiling tiles drift in and out of focus above you. A monitor beeps steadily somewhere to your left, each sound measured and indifferent. Your mouth is dry. Your tongue feels thick and useless. When you try to swallow, your throat aches like you've been screaming. Then the memories come back, not all at once, in pieces. Shelves, blood on your hands, a number glowing on a panel, pages turning in the dark. Your heart rate spikes, and the monitor responds instantly, beeping faster. You suck in a breath and force yourself to stay still. You're safe, you tell yourself. You're not there anymore. The library is miles away, sealed up in daylight, full of people who have no idea what it did when the doors were closed. A nurse appears, calm and practiced, telling you to take it easy, telling you you've been dehydrated and hypoglycemic, telling you you're lucky. The word slides past you without sticking. Lucky doesn't feel like the right label for a body that still won't stop shaking under thin sheets. They keep you longer than you expect. Fluids drip into your arm. Someone shines a light in your eyes and asks simple questions. Your name, the date, where you are. You answer them all correctly, though each response feels like it has to fight its way through fog to get out. They ask if you remember what happened. You hesitate, then say yes. They exchange looks when you start to talk. You tell them about the lockdown, about the doors, about the other watchmen. You keep your voice flat, factual, the way you were trained to write reports. You describe the wound, the bleeding, the moment their breathing stopped. You describe leaving them there because you had no choice. When you finish, the room is quiet in a way that feels familiar now. A doctor clears their throat and tells you gently that trauma can do strange things to perception. Lack of food, lack of sleep, extreme stress. Hallucinations are common. Memory distortion too. They say it like they're trying to help you set something down, not accuse you of carrying it. You don't argue. You don't have the energy. They discharge you later that day with paperwork and instructions you barely read. Drink water, eat regularly, rest, follow up with a counselor, avoid stress. The irony almost makes you laugh, but the sound never quite forms. Outside, the world looks wrong.
Too loud, too fast. Cars rush past, people talk into phones, complain about traffic, argue about nothing. The sky hangs low and gray, but it feels open in a way that makes you uneasy. You keep glancing at buildings as you pass them, watching doors, windows, reflections. Every darkened lobby makes your shoulders tense. At home, you try to sleep. You lie in your own bed, sheets clean and soft, and stare at the ceiling as if waiting for it to disappear. Every time you close your eyes, you see the rotunda, or the catalog drawers, or the number on the panel. Your body refuses to relax. When you do drift off for a few minutes, you jerk awake at the sound of imaginary pages turning. Hunger comes back in strange waves.
Sometimes you eat everything in sight without tasting it. Other times, the thought of food makes you nauseous. Your hands still shake when you're tired. Your thoughts still slip sideways when you try to focus for too long. You start leaving lights on in rooms you aren't using just to break up the shadows. The official follow-up comes a few days later. A meeting. Small room, neutral walls. 2 administrators from the library system. 1 person from security oversight, a recorder on the table between you, its red light glowing steadily. They thank you for your service. They apologize for the incident. They use words like malfunction, cascade failure, unprecedented systems interaction. They tell you the logs show no evidence of a second person in the building. They tell you no body was found, no blood, no damaged shelves, nothing that couldn't be explained by a long night and a frightened mind. They ask you if you're sure. The question lands hard in your chest. You look at the recorder, at the calm faces across from you, and feel that familiar pressure start to build behind your eyes. You think about the weight of your jacket in your hands, the warmth, the way it went still. You say yes. Your voice doesn't shake, and that seems to make them uncomfortable. They exchange another glance and move on, making notes you don't get to see. They tell you the building is safe, that upgrades are being planned, that procedures will change. They tell you the death you described can't be confirmed. You leave with a handshake and a printed pamphlet about trauma counseling. In the weeks that follow, you try to go back to something like normal. You grocery shop, you answer messages, you sit in waiting rooms and talk to a therapist who listens carefully and never tells you you're wrong, only asks how things felt. You describe fear, hunger, isolation. You don't describe the library feeling awake. You don't describe the sense of being read. Some things sound ridiculous out loud, even when you know they're true. Sleep improves slowly, but it never goes back to the way it was. You wake often, always alert, always listening. Silence makes you uneasy now. So does quiet music. So does the sound of paper shifting. You pass the library once, weeks later, in daylight. You don't go inside. From the sidewalk, it looks exactly as it always has, solid, dignified, full of people coming and going without a second thought. Banners advertise events. A child presses their face to the glass, excited. Nothing about it suggests danger. You feel your pulse pick up anyway. That night, lying in bed, you notice something you've been trying not to think about. Your jacket is gone. You never got it back. No one mentioned it. No one asked where it was. You tell yourself it was lost in the chaos, left behind, thrown away, a small thing. But when you close your eyes, you remember leaving it draped over someone who never officially existed. The thought sits heavy in your chest, impossible to dislodge. You understand now that survival doesn't come with closure. There is no clean ending, no clear explanation. There is just the weight of what you experienced, and the knowledge that the world is content to move on without understanding it. You're alive. You're functional. You're expected to be grateful. But sometimes, late at night, when the city finally quiets and the lights are low, you swear you can still feel it. That sense of being observed, cataloged, filed away. As if somewhere, in a place full of shelves and careful systems, a record of you still exists, marked not as missing, not as dead, just unresolved. You don't go back to night work. You tell people it's temporary at first. Recovery, paperwork, time to reset your sleep schedule. Eventually, the explanation shortens to a shrug and a change of subject. The truth takes too much effort to unpack, and you've learned that most people don't really want it anyway. They want a version that fits inside their understanding of how buildings behave and how nights end. Your days fill up with small, manageable routines. Grocery shopping at off hours when the aisles are quiet but not empty. Walking the same routes through your neighborhood because predictability feels like safety now. You keep your phone charged. You keep snacks in your pockets without thinking about it. Hunger has left a mark on you that doesn't fade easily. At night, you sleep with a lamp on. Not bright, just enough to soften the dark. You tell yourself it's temporary, too. You'll turn it off when you feel ready. Weeks pass, then months. The lamp stays. When you do sleep, it's shallow and alert. You wake at the smallest sounds, the whisper of sheets shifting, the creak of your own floor settling. Your body reacts before your mind does, heart racing, breath held, waiting for something to finish turning a page. Sometimes you sit up in bed, convinced you've overslept, that you're late for a shift you no longer work. It takes a few seconds for reality to reassert itself, and even then it feels thin. You try reading again once. You sit on your couch with a book you used to enjoy, something familiar and harmless. The weight of it in your hands is wrong. The smell of paper makes your stomach tighten. When you turn the first page, the sound is too loud, too precise. Your pulse spikes instantly. You snap the book shut and set it down like it burned you. It stays there for days before you move it. You don't read after that. Life keeps moving anyway. It always does. Bills, appointments, conversations that skim along the surface of things. People ask if you're doing better. You say yes because it's easier than explaining what better even means now. You can function. You can smile when expected. You can sit in a room without scanning every corner. Most of the time. Some nights you walk. You don't plan it. You just find yourself outside, moving through the city after dark, hands in your pockets, shoulders hunched against the cold. You stick to lit streets. You avoid alleys. You avoid buildings with too many windows glowing at once. You keep your pace steady and your breathing controlled, like you're still on patrol. You always slow down when you pass the library. You don't mean to. Your body does it for you. Your steps shorten. Your shoulders tense. Your eyes lift to the facade, tracing the familiar lines of stone and glass. At night, the building looks almost the same as it did before. Warm light spills from the windows. People move inside. Late study sessions, events, quiet work. From the outside, it's full of life. You stop across the street and stand there longer than you should.
You tell yourself you're just curious, checking, making sure it's still just a building. You watch people come and go through the doors. You watch the doors close behind them. Sometimes, for just a second, you think you see movement in the upper windows where no one should be, a shape passing between shelves, a light turning on in a room that looked dark a moment before. Every time when you focus, it's gone. Reflection, angle, your mind filling in gaps. You don't cross the street. You never get close enough to touch the doors. Eventually, you turn away and keep walking, heart beating a little too fast until distance dulls it again. Months later, an envelope arrives in your mailbox with the library's logo in the corner. Your hands hesitate before opening it. Inside is a short letter, polite, carefully worded. They're offering you a settlement, a quiet one, compensation for the incident, a formal closure. No mention of anyone else, no mention of death, just acknowledgement that something unusual occurred and that the institution regrets the distress it caused. You sign where they tell you to sign. Closure, it turns out, is a word that only works on paper. The nightmares don't stop. They change. Sometimes you're back in the stacks, but they're wider now, better lit, almost welcoming. Sometimes you're not alone, but you can never see the faces of the people walking beside you. Sometimes you're standing in the rotunda during the day, surrounded by noise and light, and no one can hear you when you speak. The worst ones are quiet. In those, you're sitting at a desk somewhere deep inside the building. There's a book open in front of you, and you don't remember sitting down. You don't remember opening it. You try to stand, but your body won't respond. The pages turn on their own, slow and careful, and you understand without being told that the book is you. You always wake up before it finishes. One morning, months after the night that never quite ends for you, you notice something strange. Your habits have changed in ways you didn't choose.
You walk more softly now, even in your own apartment. You lower your voice without realizing it. You pause before opening doors, listening first, hand hovering over the handle. You stand still sometimes for no reason, just to be sure the space around you isn't reacting. You've become careful,
Cataloged. You understand then that the library didn't just keep you alive. It taught you how to exist inside a system, how to conserve energy, how to wait, how to endure silence without breaking. Those lessons don't leave you just because the doors opened once. You pass the library again one night, later than usual, the city quiet around you. The building is dark this time, truly dark. Windows unlit, doors closed. It looks asleep. As you walk past, a strange thought occurs to you. Not fear, not anger, just clarity. You were never meant to disappear in that building. You were meant to leave, marked, changed. You keep walking, footsteps soft on the pavement, and you don't look back. Somewhere behind you, deep in a place that no longer needs to move or hunt or lock doors, a record remains complete. Not because the night ended, but because you did.